Unfortunately, churches are under all kinds of threats these days, from terrorism threats, gang violence, and just your lone wolf type violent people. And here's unfortunately another church shooting incident that we're having to talk about. Friday, 3:30 in Blue Island, Illinois, at the Salvation Army Community Center Church. They're doing a funeral service for a 19-year-old female. Now, she was killed June 3rd, and this is important. She's standing alongside an 18-year-old male in Chicago, from what I understand, and there's some kind of gang violence there, and she is taken out. And so this is the funeral for her and that violent incident. During this funeral at this church, community center church, there's an argument that breaks out. And some witnesses said the argument broke out and discussion of retaliation for this gang violence is what the discussion was. And somehow it turns into an argument. And suddenly a car pulls up and starts sending rounds, gunfire into the funeral, into the building. And here's the interesting thing. There's a concealed weapons permit holder, a lawful permit holder, has his firearm, and he steps out of the building and starts returning fire at these folks that have pulled up in their car and started shooting. So, of course, the violence stops, and those folks take off fleeing. In total, 4 people are injured in this incident. But very interesting situation. And, and what are the lessons we can learn from here? And some of them are the ones that we're always preaching and we're always talking about. But, what is the reason for the funeral? We want to be talking about that. We want to be thinking about that ahead of time. Here's the base for what is the funeral. What's the reason for the funeral? What's the reason for the death of the person that we're celebrating life or having a funeral for? And if it's gang violence or some kind of other violence, is it possible that the violence is going to show up at this funeral? And time again, we see that it's very possible for that to happen. So, and so we continually talk about, we need an exterior person. We need somebody out watching the parking lots, the sidewalks, those kind of things outside of our services, especially if there's violence related to this funeral, because it's happening all the time. So get that exterior person, and we want to try to get to the point that we have armed folks. And I know some of your churches, the higher up folks do not want firearms at the church. And I respect that. So we respect their leadership. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I respect that that's their position. And I certainly encourage you to respect that. But if we can, we need to have somebody, whether it's a concealed permit holder or somebody there that can defend us if this kind of situation breaks out. So they had an armed person on site. Concealed weapons permit holder wasn't part of a team, as far as I know. He just pulled out his weapon because there was gunfire. And if you can't have that, then I suggest you maybe look at hiring security for this kind of, hiring an armed security officer. Some of you in your cities and your areas have the ability to hire a off-duty police officer. And I think just a little investigation, it's not going to take much to know why you're having this funeral, or if there's possibly going to be problems as there was at this church that day. So I encourage you to take a look at these things, learn lessons from this, share this video, send it to other people, send it to your church leaders. We're constantly surrounded by warnings now of terrorism, warnings of gang violence, and even your lone wolf attackers are possibilities now. So we have to be doing something, and we have to be on alert for these possibilities, because it does not bode well for us if we have people at our church getting shot and injured. And so it doesn't look good, make other people feel comfortable to come to your church if they're hearing those kind of things. So if you need some training, go to churchsecurityanswerman.com. I hope that you will like and subscribe to this and stay in contact with us. We always want to be sharing stuff about church security. If you feel unsafe at church, or you're trying to get your church to improve security and safety feelings, or if you're on a team, we want to connect with you, and we would like for you to be connected to us here. So take a look at this next.